Here are the 8 richest black families in Hollywood, and how they built these empires will shock you. We're talking about a man whose studio lot has Disney paying him rent, a woman who negotiated ownership of her own TV show in 1988, and a couple sitting on a $200 million house built by the same architect who designs museums. Let's get into the list. Number 8. The Jordan family. Let's kick this off with the youngest dynasty on the list, and honestly the one with the most dangerous long-term trajectory. Michael B. Jordan is 37 years old, worth an estimated $100 million, and he's already done something most Hollywood veterans spend their entire careers trying to figure out. He made the jump from being the guy studios hire to being the guy who owns the project. That's everything in this industry. In 2016, he founded Outlier Society, his production company, with a very specific goal. Not just to make movies, but to own the back end. Back-end points are the quiet genius of Hollywood wealth. You don't just collect your upfront fee and walk away. You stay on the balance sheet, so when the movie keeps making money through streaming licenses and syndication and merchandise, you keep getting paid. That's the move Jordan made with the Creed franchise, going from lead actor to director to executive producer across the sequels, stacking equity on top of equity. His total box office draw has crossed $2.5 billion worldwide. That's not a personality. That's a financial instrument. And here's the part that really shows you how he thinks. During the negotiations for Creed 3, Jordan secured rights over any future spin-off properties built from that core IP. Meaning, if the franchise ever spawns a TV show, a new film series, or a streaming extension, his family enterprise collects licensing yields on all of it. He essentially planted a flag on future income that doesn't exist yet. Smart doesn't cover it. Ask yourself this. How many 37-year-olds in any industry have already locked in future licensing rights to intellectual property that hasn't been created yet? The family runs Outlier Society as a unified operation, with his parents and siblings holding advisory and administrative roles across the company's philanthropic and community development arms. His Encino Estate compound, a 12,000-square-foot property with full security infrastructure and a private screening room, functions as both home base and operational nerve center. And here's what separates Jordan from the typical rich actor. From day one, Outlier Society included an inclusion rider in its production deals, meaning studios and streaming networks had to commit to diverse hiring across crew positions just to work with him. He used his leverage not just to make money, but to reshape how the industry staffs its productions. At 37 with these assets already in place, the trajectory on this dynasty is genuinely something to watch. From the youngest entry on the list to a family that's been building their empire for 3 decades, our next dynasty is one of Hollywood's most recognizable and most complicated stories. Number 7. The Smith Dynasty. If you followed Hollywood at any point in the last 30 years, you know this name. Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith, alongside their kids Trey, Jaden, and Willow, built one of the most comprehensive family media empires in the business. Combined net worth, $450 million. And the foundation of it was laid one blockbuster at a time. At his peak, Will Smith was commanding upfront acting fees of over $20 million per film, with gross profit back-end points stacked on top of that across global franchises like Men in Black, Independence Day, and Bad Boys. That kind of fee structure at that volume of commercial success means you're not just earning, you're compounding. And here's the thing most people miss. He invested all of that into building infrastructure, not just spending it. In 2019, the family restructured everything under Westbrook Inc., a parent holding company that functions as its own entertainment ecosystem. Westbrook Studios, Westbrook Media, Red Table Productions, Good Intent Venture Investments. The whole machine was designed to originate, finance, and monetize content without needing a studio to greenlight anything. At its peak, Westbrook Inc. attracted a private equity valuation of over $600 million from international media funds. That's not a celebrity brand deal. That's a corporate entity being valued like a media company, because that's exactly what it is. And here's the part that never gets enough attention in the business coverage. The children aren't just famous. They're integrated into the enterprise. Jaden's eco-friendly water brand, Just Water, was incubated inside the family holding structure. Willow's music and fashion footprint generates independent revenue streams. These aren't celebrity kids coasting on a famous last name. They're the second generation of an actual operating conglomerate. Now, you'd be doing a disservice to this family's story if you didn't mention 2022, because the Oscar moment changed the public narrative significantly. But here's what actually matters from a wealth standpoint. The financial infrastructure of Westbrook Inc. didn't move. Long-term content licensing deals and private equity capitalization are not affected by what happens at an awards ceremony. The defensive architecture of owning equity instead of chasing fees is exactly what protects a family empire when personal headlines get turbulent. And here's the question worth sitting with. How many entertainment families have survived that kind of public moment with their financial infrastructure completely intact? This one did. That's the whole lesson of this dynasty. Speaking of building something no headline can shake, a lot of it comes down to how the brain performs when it matters. That's the idea behind an audio series called The Genius Switch. It's based on the neuroscience of the flow state, that mode where focus and creativity click at the same time. And the whole routine is just listening with headphones a few minutes a day. It's a one-time $39, less than a single online course, and it's backed by a 90-day money-back guarantee, so you can test it on yourself with nothing to lose. If you're watching on your TV, pause and scan the QR code on screen with your phone camera, or tap the first link in the description. Now, back to the Smiths, and the place where the whole operation lives. The home base is a 150-acre compound in Calabasas with a 25,000-square-foot main mansion, a private lake, equestrian facilities, athletic courts, and recording studios. This family didn't just get rich. They built a campus. From the Smiths' media empire to a man who did something no athlete before him had ever done, our next entry is a billionaire who built his Hollywood company the same way he built his game, by refusing to let anyone else set the ceiling. Number 6. The James Dynasty. Quick question. When does an athlete stop being an athlete and start being a billionaire media executive? For LeBron James, the answer is somewhere around 2021, when his net worth crossed $1 billion while he was still actively playing professional basketball. That had never happened before, not once in the history of American professional sports. The basketball money is real and it's massive, over $480 million in career NBA salaries, including a $101 million extension with the Los Angeles Lakers. But here's what's wild. The majority of his $1.3 billion net worth didn't come from playing basketball. It came from what he built while playing basketball. The vehicle for his Hollywood footprint is the SpringHill Company, an entertainment conglomerate that attracted a $725 million private equity valuation after investment from Redbird Capital Partners, Epic Games, and Nike. SpringHill produces feature films, television series, and digital platforms, and operates as a full studio entity with ownership over its content IP. But that's just one piece of the portfolio. LeBron holds minority equity in Fenway Sports Group, which gives him indirect ownership stakes in the Boston Red Sox and Liverpool FC. He had an early equity position in Beats by Dre, which he cashed out during Apple's acquisition. He holds a major position in Blaze Pizza. And his original Nike deal, signed when he was 18 years old, has compounded into one of the most lucrative athlete brand partnerships in history. Here's the spicy family angle everyone should know. When Bronny James entered the NBA, something happened that had never occurred in the league's entire history. A father and son played on the same professional team at the same time. And here's the business angle hiding inside that historic moment. The dual-generation brand marketing opportunities that created across digital platforms, broadcast networks, and merchandise channels were worth tens of millions in promotional value alone. LeBron didn't just have a son become an NBA player. He created a generational content franchise out of a family moment. The real estate portfolio includes a $52 million Mediterranean compound in Beverly Hills with panoramic city views and a private screening facility, plus multiple estates across Brentwood. And SpringHill's media development partnerships keep expanding, including a recent collaboration with Naomi Osaka's production company, Hanakuma, placing multicultural creator platforms inside the James Enterprise umbrella. LeBron made it to $1 billion while still lacing up his sneakers. Our next entry is a man who hit that same number but built his empire completely on his own land, his own rules, and zero partners. Number 5. The Perry Estate. Here's a sentence that should stop you cold. Tyler Perry owns a 330-acre studio lot in Atlanta, Georgia. And Disney pays him rent to use it. Warner Brothers pays him rent. Marvel pays him rent. The same studios that once held the keys to every black filmmaker's career are now his tenants. Think about that for a second. Who has the power in that relationship now? If there's a cleaner example of flipping the power dynamic in this entire industry, I haven't heard it. Perry's net worth sits at $1.3 billion, and the structure of how he got there is unlike any other dynasty on this list. He didn't partner with studios. He didn't take equity investment from private funds. He didn't share ownership with anyone. From the very beginning of his career, he funded his own theatrical tours personally, bought out every early financial backer, and established 100% ownership of his creative output. Every script, every film, every television episode, every stage production, his. The master content catalog that resulted from this approach is extraordinary. Over 1,200 television episodes, 22 feature films, and a decades-long theatrical stage play portfolio, including the foundational Medea franchise. That library generates ongoing licensing and syndication revenue from Netflix, BET, and broadcast networks, meaning Perry collects income from work he created years ago, every single day, with no revenue leakage to studio middlemen. In 2025 alone, he wrote, directed, and produced multiple feature releases, retaining complete back-end rights on all of them. But let's talk about Tyler Perry Studios itself, because this is the asset that changes the conversation entirely. The facility is built on the historic site of Fort McPherson in Atlanta. It has 12 soundstages, each named after a Black Hollywood pioneer. It has a backlot with a full-scale replica of the White House, complete post-production facilities, wardrobe departments, everything an A-list production could need, all under one roof on land he owns outright. When Marvel needs to shoot something in Atlanta, they call Tyler Perry. That relationship dynamic used to work the other way around. His private life is notably quiet for someone at this level. A sprawling custom-built estate in Atlanta. Island real estate in the Bahamas. A private aviation fleet including an Embraer Lineage 1000E, valued at around $125 million, one of the largest private jets in civilian operation. He built his entire life to match the scale of what he built professionally. Perry did it alone and owns every inch of it. Our next dynasty took a completely different approach, combining two global superstars into one unstoppable commercial machine. Number 4. The Fenty Mayors. Dynasty. Some couples are famous. Rihanna and A$AP Rocky built a family empire worth $1.4 billion and fundamentally changed the economics of the beauty industry in the process. That's a different category entirely. Let's start with a number that explains everything. When Rihanna launched Fenty Beauty in 2017, she introduced a 40-shade foundation range at a time when most luxury cosmetics brands offered maybe a dozen. That single product decision forced every major beauty company on the planet to overhaul their shade ranges to compete. She didn't just start a company, she changed an industry's standards, and she owns 50% of it in a joint venture with LVMH, the most powerful luxury conglomerate in the world. Here's the financial architecture underneath that. Savage X Fenty, her lingerie brand, has been valued at over $1 billion in private funding rounds. Her music catalog continues generating streaming revenue across a back catalog with billions of plays. And here's the detail most people overlook completely. Her Super Bowl halftime performance in 2023 set record viewership figures, and she performed it visibly pregnant. The cultural conversation that generated, the media coverage, the social engagement, functioned as a marketing event for Fenty that no advertising budget could have purchased. She turned a performance into a product launch. Whether that was calculated or spontaneous, the effect was the same. On A$AP Rocky's side, his AWGE creative agency operates with a genuinely unusual corporate structure. Instead of taking standard fee-for-service brand deals, AWGE negotiates direct equity-for-services arrangements with tech firms, international fashion houses, and premium spirits brands. He doesn't just promote products. he takes ownership stakes in them. Add his musical releases, his Mercer plus Prince Spirits brand, and his fashion design collaborations, and you have a second income architecture running alongside Rihanna's that compounds independently. The family's real estate in Beverly Hills includes neighboring mega mansions acquired for a combined $23 million, plus oceanfront properties in Barbados. Their lifestyle is exactly what you'd expect. Rare European luxury vehicles, an archival fine art collection, high-fashion pieces from houses they personally collaborate with. Their two sons are being raised inside an empire that, by the time they're adults, will likely be significantly larger than it is today. From a power couple running a billion-dollar beauty empire to a man who used his sports fame to become one of the most sophisticated urban investors in American history, our next dynasty built its Hollywood footprint the same way it built everything else, strategically and without apology. Number 3. The Johnson Dynasty. Magic. Johnson's net worth is $1.4 billion. And here's the thing about that number, almost none of it came from basketball. Yes, he was a 5-time NBA champion and one of the greatest point guards to ever play the game. But his professional playing career ended earlier than anyone expected when he announced his HIV diagnosis in 1991. Most people would have quietly retired. Magic Johnson turned that moment into the launch of a second career that ended up generating far more wealth than the first one. The central asset of Magic Johnson Enterprises is a controlling majority stake in Equitrust Life Insurance Company, a financial institution managing over $26 billion in customer assets. Think about that for a second. A basketball player from Lansing, Michigan, acquired a controlling stake in a life insurance company managing $26 billion. That's not a celebrity investment. That's institutional financial power. But his Hollywood and entertainment footprint is where the story gets genuinely interesting. In the 1990s, Johnson had a simple but radical observation. Major cinema chains were systematically ignoring Black urban neighborhoods. Not enough theaters, not enough good locations, not enough investment. So he went into business with AMC to build Magic Johnson Theaters, a chain of multiplex cinemas placed directly in those underserved communities. And here's what he proved that nobody wanted to admit at the time. Those theaters outperformed national averages on revenue per screen. He didn't just provide a service to his community. He demonstrated that his community was a massively lucrative, systematically ignored market. That insight became the blueprint for everything that followed. And here's the question he asked that nobody else was asking. If these neighborhoods have the spending power, why isn't anyone building for them? The sports franchise portfolio is extraordinary. Minority equity in the Los Angeles Dodgers, equity in Los Angeles FC, a stake in the Washington Commanders, partial ownership of the Los Angeles Sparks. That collection of sports assets alone would constitute a major wealth story. The fact that it's one piece of a much larger holding company is what makes the Johnson dynasty genuinely remarkable. The lifestyle reflects the scale. A Tuscan-style mansion in the gated Beverly Park community in Los Angeles. A seaside estate in Dana Point. Annual summer superyacht charters across the Mediterranean. Private jet travel to manage a global business and speaking schedule. Courtside seats at championships across every sport his family owns a piece of. Magic proved that the real game was never on the court. Our next dynasty took that same philosophy and applied it to the biggest stage in the entire entertainment industry. Number 2. The Carter Dynasty. Here's the thing about Jay-Z and Beyoncé that most people still don't fully grasp. They're not just the most famous couple in music. They're running a private equity operation that happens to have a music catalog attached to it. Jay-Z's individual net worth sits between $2.5 and $2.8 billion. Beyoncé's fortune adds another enormous number on top of that. The combined Carter family wealth is in a bracket that only a handful of entertainment figures on the planet have ever reached. The corporate architecture they've built is worth understanding in full. Roc Nation is a talent management company, record label, sports agency, and entertainment production house simultaneously. Marcy Penn Capital Partners is a venture capital firm that merged with Pendulum Holdings to expand direct equity investments into high-growth consumer brands like Quince. Parkwood Entertainment, Beyoncé's company, produces her album releases, her stadium tours, and her feature films while retaining total ownership over her original master recordings. That last piece is the one that matters most long-term. When you own your masters, every streaming deal, every licensing agreement, every sync placement in a film or television series pays you directly, forever. And Beyoncé is the most awarded artist in Grammy history. That catalog is worth extraordinary amounts of money. Now let's talk about the assets, because this is where the Carter dynasty really separates from the rest of the list. Their primary residence is a $200 million beachfront estate in Malibu, California, designed by Japanese architect Tadao Ando, who is known primarily for designing art museums and cultural institutions. They own an $88 million compound in Bel Air. Their personal fine art collection is valued at over $70 million and includes a Jean-Michel Basquiat painting called Equals Pi. They travel in a customized Bombardier Global 7,500 private jet. But here's the business move that really shows how the Carters think. Roc Nation entered a long-term partnership with the NFL to direct the Super Bowl halftime show entertainment strategy. The same NFL that historically had a complicated relationship with Black cultural voices now has Jay-Z as an operational partner with input over its most-watched annual broadcast. That's not a brand deal. That's structural leverage inside the most powerful sports media ecosystem in America. Blue Ivy Carter is already a Grammy winner and has performed in Beyoncé's stadium productions. The next generation of this dynasty is already in motion, and the assets underneath them are built to compound for decades. The Carters built the most diversified entertainment portfolio on this list. But the woman at number 1 didn't need a partner, a co-founder, or a single outside investor. She built the whole thing alone, and she did it before any of them were even in the conversation. Number 1, the Winfrey dynasty. Here's a number that needs to be said plainly: $3.2 billion. Oprah Winfrey is the wealthiest Black woman in the history of the entertainment industry, and it's not particularly close. But here's what makes her story genuinely different from every other dynasty on this list. She figured out the ownership game before any of them did. The year was 1988. Oprah Winfrey had been hosting her talk show for 2 years, and it was already the highest-rated daytime program in television history. At that point, most talent in her position would have celebrated the ratings, collected a generous salary, and called it a success. Instead, she walked into negotiations with Cap Cities and ABC and came out with something nobody had ever done before. She negotiated ownership rights to the Oprah Winfrey Show itself, including 100% of the master tapes and all future syndication rights. Not a share of it, not a percentage. All of it. At a time when the concept of a television host owning their show simply wasn't part of the conversation. That single decision is the foundation of a $3.2 billion fortune. Because when a show that size goes into syndication, the checks don't stop when the show ends. They just keep coming, and they come to whoever owns the tapes. She did that in 1988, before the internet, before streaming, before anyone was talking about creator ownership in the way we talk about it now. The empire she built on top of that foundation is staggering. Harpo Productions, the company she founded and fully owns, produced 25 years of syndication cash flows and then leveraged that infrastructure to co-found the Oprah Winfrey Network with Discovery. She later monetized her majority-owned stake back to Warner Bros. Discovery in exchange for public equity and cash. Her investment portfolio includes significant positions in publicly traded companies, private equity placements, and executive producer credits on Oscar-nominated films, including The Color Purple and Selma. And then there's the real estate, because Oprah Winfrey owns land the way most people own furniture. Her main residence is a 66-acre compound in Montecito, California, called the Promised Land, valued at over $100 million, with ocean views, rose gardens, guest houses, and full security infrastructure. She owns over 2,100 acres on the island of Maui, in Hawaii, making her one of the largest private landowners in the entire state. She travels on a Gulfstream G650ER, one of the longest-range private jets in civilian operation. But here's the detail that ties everything together and makes number 1 feel completely earned. The Oprah effect is real and documented. When Oprah publicly recommends a book, it becomes a bestseller within 24 hours. When she invested in Weight Watchers, the stock moved. When she endorses a product, the brand sells out. That kind of cultural influence isn't just fame. It's a financial instrument with a market value that no balance sheet has ever fully captured. And that's the thread connecting all 8 of these families. Jordan owns his IP. Perry owns his lot. The Carters own their masters. The Smiths own their production company. LeBron owns his Spring Hill equity. Rihanna owns her beauty brand. Magic owns an insurance company. And Oprah, who started this whole model before any of them, owns everything she ever created from the very first day she could negotiate for it. The richest black families in Hollywood didn't get there by being the most talented. Plenty of talented people never built a dynasty. They got there by understanding one thing earlier than everyone else. You don't get wealthy by getting paid. You get wealthy by owning the thing other people pay for. If you made it this far, drop a comment and tell us which dynasty surprised you the most. And if you want more content like this, stay tuned with Black Status, because we bring stories like this every single day.